when I gave a lecture at the Baker Institute, what was it now, a few months ago, probably in May, I started off with a story about Secretary Baker. And it's a story I can't really tell here in Kuwait. I start off with a story that I can't really repeat here in Kuwait, so we'll just leave it in Houston. Instead, I'll probably tell a little bit of a different story. Some of you may know that Secretary Baker, most of you will know that Secretary Baker is a proud alumnus of Princeton University, as am I, so we share that background together. We also share that we were both in the same, what was called an eating club at Princeton, the Ivy Club. So when he came to speak in 1994, after having left office, he came to speak at the Woodrow Wilson School for Public International Affairs, which was where my major was. He said, look, maybe it was 93, he said, I'm trying to set up a new institute in Houston at Rice because of my family connection with Rice, but I need to model it after the Woodrow Wilson School. So he came to speak, and I was with him on that. I was a senior in college, and I arranged for him to, after that session, to walk back together to the Ivy Club to share some time with some of the students. Unfortunately, I didn't tell enough people at the Ivy Club that he was coming, and when we walked into the club where the billiards room was, there was a guy in shorts, t-shirts, and barefoot walking around, yelling and screaming about having lost the game. So that was really not the best way to show Secretary Baker that he was welcome back in his old club, but he was very kind as he always is. I wanted to share with you just a few thoughts on how we see the main topic of today's discussion. So first I'll start off with just, first of all, thanking His Excellency Dr. Mr. Hajraf, certainly the Baker Institute and KFAS for convening this. These are thought centers renowned for their commitment to research, innovation, and the advancement of knowledge. So today we convene not only to discuss the role of the energy transition in the economic diversification of Kuwait, the topic that you have, but really also to foster the kind of academic dialogue that drives meaningful analysis of these issues. The global energy transition is a subject, as you all know, of immense academic inquiry and policy debate. As such, it's not a singular event, but instead a complex, multi-decade process shaped by technological innovation, economic realities, and societal needs. We at KPC understand the imperative to reduce carbon emissions. After all, climate change is real, and it requires urgent action. At the same time, we also recognize that the solution lies not in wholesale vilification of the oil industry. In fact, legislation that sets for political purposes an arbitrary date for elimination of fossil fuels sets the world up for catastrophe. Oil products are essential in modern day life. Packaging that allows food to be delivered to remote parts of the world where food is not abundant, that packaging is made from hydrocarbons. So is almost everything that a surgeon touches in an operating room. Humans simply cannot survive without these products, and their components are not easily replaceable. So I'll start today's discussion with one fundamental observation. The energy transition is just that. It is a transition. It is not an abrupt switch. It is a gradual evolution. In any realistic forecast, hydrocarbons will remain a vital part of the world's energy mix. Their share in the overall mix will of course diminish. Energy demand will increase by about a quarter between now and 2050, overall energy. And that will increase at a rate faster than population growth. And if you tally up all the non-hydrocarbon sources of energy, wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, even coal, which as you all know is far dirtier than oil, we will still have a deficit of about a quarter of 2050's energy demand that can only be met with the sole remaining source of energy, and that is oil. That 1/4 of the energy mix of tomorrow translates to about 100 million barrels of oil per day, which is equal to what we are producing currently. So the future isn't no longer about energy transition. It's about energy addition. And with that fundamental observation, I'd like to shed some light on how we in Kuwait are handling that and what we're doing about it. At KPC, we are committed to our stakeholders, and we focus on their well-being and prosperity. Our mission is to optimize the value of Kuwait's hydrocarbon resources through sustainable and globally integrated operations, contributing to Kuwait's economic development while offering growth opportunities for our people. Our natural resources have brought economic miracles to many communities around the world, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Europe. This is an international role that Kuwait is proud to uphold, and KPC intends to continue this legacy for decades to come. This is also why our strategy rests on plans to increase crude oil production to 4 million barrels of oil a day by 2035 and achieve a stable free gas production of 2 billion standard cubic feet per day by 2040. We plan to invest between $9 and $10 billion a year over the next 5 years to increase that production capacity to 3.2 million barrels a day just within this next period. And we're well on our way to achieving that goal. Over the past 3 years, simply by unlocking arcane contractual procedures that limited our surface processing capability, we have increased our production capacity by more than 20% to more than 3 million barrels a day today. As we add production capacity to meet global demand, we are also committed to decarbonizing our products. We recognize that the oil and gas industry must take an active role in driving climate solutions. We possess engineering expertise, capacity for large-scale implementation, and in our prosperous years, the funding needed to make a difference. This is why KPC has embarked on its own net zero journey to eliminate and offset all Scope 1 and Scope 2 greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, all in tandem with our efforts to secure future energy supplies. And note that this is 2050, 10 years before the state's 2060 target. We start this journey from, as the British ambassador will know, a position of strength and pole position. We watched the F1 race together last night. Congratulations to the British driver. Our barrel is the lowest carbon cost barrel in the world, with an estimated CO2 output of 5 kilograms per barrel. Other Gulf producers are somewhere between the 5 and 10 kilogram per barrel range. Producers outside the Gulf are somewhere in the upper teens, and certain offshore production can be as high as 40 kilograms per barrel. Reflecting our conviction that the future of energy must be both abundant and sustainable, we will diversify our product portfolio, decarbonize it, and invest in alternative, renewable, and other resources where they add value to our customers and to our businesses. Our strategy for all of this rests on 3 pillars: reducing Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. Our net zero flaring initiative aims to eliminate up to 2 million tons of CO2 annually by 2035. We've already reduced gas flaring in our upstream business from over 10% a few years ago to less than 0.5%, positioning us as an industry leader in near zero flaring. We're identifying all flaring sources and implementing technologies to eliminate them. We're also finalizing plans to capture CO2 for our downstream operations to inject in our producing reservoirs to maintain pressure and free up natural gas for other purposes, such as petrochemical projects or power generation. Our pilot project in the Minagish oil field was successful, and we're trying to source additional CO2 to convert to a large-scale effort. To achieve this, we've identified CO2 emission sources across KPC's operations, and we are assessing suitable CO2 capture, storage, and transportation technologies. Interestingly enough, we simply don't have enough CO2 emissions within the oil sector in Kuwait to handle as much CCUS as we would like to have for the future. And here I'm pleased to announce something even further than that, and that we have recently discovered a formation capable of sequestering over 1 billion tons of CO2. That is more than 35 years of CO2 emissions by the oil sector in one cavern in Kuwait. And that would be pure sequestration, it would not be utilization. So we have the option now of pursuing utilization and pursuing pure sequestration. Our second pillar is investing in new energy businesses. The Kuwaiti oil sector uses about 1.7 gigawatts of power to fuel our operations. That's about 10% of the country's power consumption. By working with the Ministry of Electricity, Water, and Renewable Energy, we aim to produce and swap with the ministry about 2 gigawatts of solar power within the next few years, thereby taking our Scope 2 emissions down to zero. Additionally, as part of our renewable energy initiative, integral to the KPC 2050 roadmap, we have the capacity to build up to 17 gigawatts of solar power by 2050, which we would use to produce green hydrogen if the market for that product materializes. Our third pillar is focusing on the circular economy and carbon abatement. As our fields enter secondary recovery phases, we are implementing projects like Sidra 500, which uses solar power to run electric submersible pumps in our Mugder field. This reduces reliance on the state's electricity grid, and to achieve our net zero emissions, we plan to engage in large-scale afforestation as well across 500 square kilometers of Kuwait by 2050. All of that is expected to offset around 9 million tons of CO2 annually. If we take what we would emit in CO2 in a do-nothing case at 2050, would be around 58 million tons of CO2 annually. Carbon sequestration and or utilization would take out about 50% of that. 25% of that would be taken out simply by pursuing the offset on solar that I mentioned. The remaining 25% is a mix between energy efficiency and abatement. So we have a very clear and very attainable path to net zero by 2050. So to do all of that, we need researchers, scientists, and mathematicians. Academic institutions like Rice University and KFAS play a vital role in shaping the future of energy. Through interdisciplinary research, policy analysis, and the cultivation of talent, especially in this room, you provide insights and innovations that underpin effective decision-making. We value our partnerships with the academic community and are eager to deepen our collaboration, whether through joint research projects, student exchanges, or knowledge-sharing initiatives. As Kuwait pursues economic diversification, we look to academia for guidance on best practices in areas such as artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, and environmental stewardship. Your expertise is essential as we navigate the complexities of the energy transition and strive to build a resilient, knowledge-based economy. The challenges we face, climate energy, energy security, and sustainable development, are global in scope and demand collaborative solutions. Kuwait is committed to responsible leadership, grounded in pragmatism and innovation. We believe that by working together, industry, governments, and academia, we can advance the frontiers of science, support equitable economic growth, and ensure a sustainable energy future for all. Thank you very much.